Saturday View with Ronan Berry. With thanks to Lumcloon Energy, pioneering innovation, powering progress. LumcloonEnergy.com. Call 0818 300 103. Text or WhatsApp your Saturday View to 083 3010 103.
Hello and a very good morning to you. It's Ronan Berry here. Time for your Saturday View. And one topic will pretty much dominate the show for the next hour, because the boxes are being opened in count centres across Longford, Westmeath, Laois and Offaly. In just a couple of moments we'll get the latest updates from those three count centres, because the Midlands news team have been out and about from early morning. They'll give us a sense of what's happening over there now and maybe an idea of what we can expect over the coming hours. You've probably noted the exit polls last night too, so we'll have a bit of discussion around them and what they're suggesting and what they indicate, and we'll examine too maybe the outlook, how it might be, because transfers, I'd say, will be a huge factor once again in this general election. And it takes a lot to put yourself up for election. It's a fair thing to do, but imagine if you volunteered to do some white collar boxing in the form of mixed martial arts. Well, we'll have three people in just later on to talk about what has compelled them to take up the sport and why somebody decided to take it up for the first time and put themselves out there into a white collar boxing match as well. So that'll be a little break away from the election stuff, but still something that you need a huge amount of bravery to put yourself up for. We'll take a very, very quick look at what's making the headlines this morning on the Irish Independent. Dead heat, but Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil poised for power, and that's in reference to the exit polls from last night that showed Sinn Féin had about 21.1% of the vote, Fine Gael on 21% and Fianna Fáil on 19.5%. Other papers then, the Irish Times leading with something very, very similar. Sinn Féin, Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil on course for photo finish. They also show how the Social Democrats are at 5.8%, Labour 5%, Green Party 4%, Aontú 3.6%, People Before Profit Solidarity 3.1%, Independent Ireland 2.2%, and then the Independents and others at 14.6%. And as we say, the Independents probably going to play a big role in the coming days and potentially in the next government. I'm going to go also though too, when I pick it back up off the floor, the Irish Daily Star lead with a really interesting headline: 2 men and a baby, and it says Simon and Micheál tipped to return as new mum Holly could be kingmaker. Because yes, yesterday was polling day, but the leader of the Social Democrats, Holly Kearns, welcomed a new baby daughter as well, so massive congratulations to her. But as the Star is hinting at there, possibly the Social Democrats could play a key role in forming a new government, which, let's be honest, looks like it could be quite similar to the one that has just been wound up. But anyway, we'll know over the next couple of hours or the next couple of days certainly. But let's get a sense and a flavour of what's happening in the count centres right around the three counties. I'm going to go across to Birr, where the Offaly Count Centre, and Sinead Hubble is on site for us this morning. Good morning, Sinead.
Good morning, Ronan.
Sinead, give us an update. What's happening in Birr at the minute?
Well, the 112 boxes here in St Brendan's Community School in Birr began being sorted at 9 a.m. this morning. We have 11 candidates here vying for 3 seats. Now, this was a 5-seater constituency of Laois Offaly, and it's been split, and the faithful county now stands alone for the first time since 2016. Independent Carol Nolan is the only outgoing TD in the county to seek re-election, and it's also about 50 years since a Cowan name hasn't appeared on the ballot paper here in Offaly after Barry Cowan was elected to the European Parliament in June. Now, Fianna Fáil is being represented by Tony McCormack and Claire Murray, and that actually caused a split within the party, with Eddie Fitzpatrick resigning and deciding to run as an independent. Fine Gael is hoping that John Clendenin will be able to regain the seat that was won by Marcella Corcoran-Kennedy in 2016. We have first-time general election candidate Aoife Masterson vying for a seat for Sinn Féin, and Senator Pippa Hackett will be hoping to improve her vote from 2020 when she received just under 3,500 first preferences. Fergus MacDonald is running for Independent Ireland, and he's back on the ballot paper for the first time in a general election since 2011. Mike Boylan is also running as an independent, and we have Tullamore Maureen's wards contesting for Aontú, and People Before Profit's candidate is Kesha Taylor. teller. And we did hear from the returning officer, Sean Ryan, this morning that he was making no predictions about what time the first count will be announced at yet. But we do know so far that there is a total of 62,931 votes to be counted here in Offaly over the coming hours. We're still waiting for the first tallies, but they are expected within the next hour. Around 40 boxes have been opened so far, and the names that we keep hearing from the tallies people as they're peering over the ballot papers are Carol Nolan, Tony McCormack, Aoife Masterson and John Clendenin.
Interesting. So we're already getting that early stage kind of ideas of the names that are being said as well. So yeah, it's hard to know.
Yeah, and they're from all across the county. There's no particular boxes, but I have heard that in a Clara box, for instance, of 220 votes, 84 of them went to Tony McCormack, and people here are saying that Carol Nolan is doing particularly well from what we know so far. But as I said, we don't have the tallies from Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael just yet, and we should have them very shortly though.
Yeah, it's interesting again to get those boxes open already. So counting is firmly, they've started opening boxes. Counting will start fairly quickly too. Any indications on sort of turnout in Offaly?
What we know is that there's 62,931 votes to be counted here.
Sinead Hubbard, no doubt we'll have updates from you throughout the day as well. Thank you for that. Going to go across now to the Portlaoise Count Centre for the Laois constituency. David Hollywood is on site for us there today. Good morning, David.
Morning, Ronan.
David, to give us the latest on what's happening in Portlaoise.
Yeah, counting very much underway. Got underway at 9 o'clock. Rory Hannafy, the Laois returning officer, fired the starting gun. We are expecting a full tally, hopefully, in the early afternoon, and that will paint a clear picture of what's going on. But based on what we're seeing so far this morning, we do have a bit of a picture, and I'll move on to that shortly. First, let's have a look at the historical context here. Sean Fleming of Fianna Fáil, Brian Stanley, now an independent. They're the two incumbent TDs heading into this weekend's contest. Willie Aird will be hoping to claim a seat that Fine Gael have had occupied by the former Justice Minister Charlie Flanagan in the past, and the now departed from Sinn Féin in acrimonious circumstances Brian Stanley, running as an independent. He was the poll topper in 2020 for the Laois Offaly constituency. Just once has this constituency been on its own. That was in 2016, but it did have parts of Kildare in it. Many eyes would be looking to the Stanley performance, considering the war of words that have been rolling through the media against Sinn Féin and himself over the course of the last number of weeks and months. An initial canvass of party volunteers, just as the boxes were opened, suggested that Maria McCormack was performing well for Sinn Féin. The Ballyroan woman was selected to run for the party in the wake of the Stanley departure. Fianna Fáil say they're happy with how Sean Fleming's performing. Fine Gael happy with what they're seeing for Willie Aird, and they're also seeing a fairly even split between Miss McCormack and Brian Stanley. These are the big four names, and as the boxes are being tallied, we're about 20-30% through the tally process at the moment. Willie Aird performing very strongly, Fianna Fáil's Sean Fleming, Brian Stanley doing very well as well. And if anyone's going to crack into that top three, remember there's just 3 seats available. It will be most likely, based on what we're seeing, Sinn Féin's Maria McCormack. In terms of where the support is coming from, one Greg Cullen box had Maria McCormack on, topping that particular box, well clear of second place Aisling Moran, and Aisling Moran's 63 votes in that box would be expected. That would be her strongest area, so it looks like she may struggle to crack into that top 3 or the race for the top 4. I was talking to her this morning as well. She's very happy with how the campaign went, and it's very much a wait and see perspective at the moment. Just to wrap it up, Ronan, the 4 big names that'll be coming from Laois competing for the 3 seats, based on what we're seeing from the tallies so far, is Sean Fleming, Willie Aird, Brian Stanley and Maria McCormack.
Very much in line with the exit poll released at 10 p.m. last night. David Hollywood, thank you for that, and we'll have updates from David throughout the day too, and on the news all day today too. Any updates as we get them will be brought to you. Let's now go across to Longford Westmead. Rachel Timoney is in the Athlone Count Centre for us. Good morning, Rachel.
Morning, Ronan. How are you keeping?
Rachel, give us an update on what's happening in Athlone at present.
Boxes are being opened and votes are being sorted here in Athlone in Thus for the Longford Westmead constituency. About 9% of boxes opened so far, and for what we've heard of turnout, about 43.8% turnout for the Longford Westmead constituency. Still very early on in the tallies. They've shifted around a bit this morning, but at the moment showing an early lead for Kevin Boxer-Moran, followed by Minister for Enterprise Peter Burke of Fine Gael. As you said, the exit polls are showing a slight lean towards Sinn Féin Fane, which Sorcha Clark would be happy about. She did top the poll last time in this constituency in 2020. Other incumbents hoping to gain their seat back in the Dáil include Robert Troy and Joe Flaherty, representing Fianna Fáil. And as I said, former Fianna Fáil Boxer Moran topping the tallies here at the moment, and he'll be hoping for a triumphant return to the Dáil as an independent after missing out last time in 2020, losing his seat. Micheál Carrigy, Fine Gael, also missed out in 2020 and had to settle for a seat in the Senate instead. He's also hoping to hear his name called out in the terms of being elected later on. An extra seat up for grabs over here as well, 5 instead of 4, with 20 candidates all hoping to hear their names called later on. Not much candidate activity yet here in Toos, with more expected to arrive as the day goes on. Expected to be a long one over here, Ronan.
Absolutely, quite a long ballot paper in Longford Westmeath as well, as you pointed out there. And again, sort of somewhat in line with the exit polls, and interesting to see the Boxer maybe coming out well so far on that as well. Rachel Timoney, thank you so much for that update from Toos and Athlone there, the Longford Westmeath Count Centre. So that's a little snapshot of what's happening in the 3 count centres across Offaly, Laois and Longford Westmeath at the minute. As I say, throughout the day and on the news, and if we get any updates or anything breaking, we will bring it to you straight away. But please keep an eye on, there are live feeds and live blogs on the Midlands103.com. If you just click on news, you'll see a little link there then for each constituency, so you can get right up to date in terms of all the latest news. I'm going to take a short break. After that, we're going to meet some mixed martial arts fighters, some experienced, some doing it for the very first time, and try and figure why they do it and what the draw is. And also then later on, we'll have a look then at as we get more information on elections and kind of tallies and as boxes are open, both in the 3 constituencies here local to us, and also look at the national picture too. So lots more to come here on Saturday View. Talk to you shortly.
Saturday View, with thanks to Lumclune Energy, pioneering innovation, powering progress. LumcluneEnergy.com.
And welcome back to Saturday View. We'll have a bit more election coverage in just a little while. On the end of the show, we'll have an insight from an outgoing independent TD, and just to get kind of that insider's track on what he's seeing from the polls and the exit polls and from whatever early tallies we might have by that point. And we'll also take a look nationally too and see what is the picture, what's emerging, and maybe how accurate was last night's exit poll. All that to come anyway. But before that, I mentioned at the start of the show how putting yourself up there for election is brave. You know, you really have to put yourself on the line and get yourself out there and definitely get outside your comfort zone. And I think something similar applies to mixed martial arts. And, you know, imagine to kind of get into it for the first time. Imagine signing up for things like a white collar boxing competition. But we're going to meet somebody who is doing that actually tomorrow night. But there is an event on in the Bridge House Hotel tomorrow night too, and there's a local fighter in the main event on that. So look, let's kind of find out more and meet. I have a big crew of people in front of me here. I have Shane Smith, Shane Dunn, Anthony Brennan and Jason McCourtney, and they're all from Era Grapple. It's a gym and a mixed martial arts gym in Kilcrutton in Tullamore. Shane Smith, I will start with you. Very good morning.
Thanks for having us, Ronan.
Shane, white collar boxing, it sounds great fun.
Yeah, white collar mixed martial arts, yeah. So it's a 12 to 16 week programme that we've run in the gym. This is our second time around doing it in this format. We have 10 lads taking part, so they're all after training with each other for the last 4 months, but now they are going in to fight each other on the fight night finale. The fight night is just the cherry on top for them though. The whole idea of it is that it's like a mental and physical transformation programme. So the main idea was that they get to train like fighters and obviously like make the necessary sacrifices that they had to over the last 4 months, and transform themselves that way physically and mentally to go from basically couch to cage now on the night. So yeah, like I said, the fight night tomorrow is just the peak of that for them. It's just like a great life experience for anyone, and there's no pressure on any of them to even stay on as fighters afterwards. It's just we hope some of them do stay on and keep training with us obviously, but yeah, it's great to see the progress all of them have made over the last 4 months or so. So we're really excited to see all of the lads in action now tomorrow.
And they're all complete beginners, were they, beforehand?
Yeah. Like there were 1 or 2 might have had like a tiny bit of prior experience, but the idea is that the majority are complete beginners, and we match them all off like as evenly as we can in terms of like skill and experience.
So what are you looking for then? Is it a baseline kind of skill or technique or a physical fitness, or is there just that something like, what is it that makes you go, yeah, this person, they'll be good at this, or they can do this?
It's normally just we run tryouts, and we keep it fairly open to almost anybody, so we don't really care what anyone's background is. Obviously they do need some bit of physical capacity, so if you come in with some sort of grievous like injury or whatever, you won't be able to take part. But most of the lads, they're just at a place like mentally, I suppose, where they want to change, so we're giving them the ultimate opportunity for that, because there is no greater, I suppose, experience in life. Well, obviously we're biased because we are fighters anyway, but to us, like, fighting is, I suppose, the ultimate human experience. So for some of these people, you know, they were in a rut, I suppose, mentally or physically, and we're just giving them an outlet to change themselves for the better on the night. So obviously, like I said, it's the 4 months of training is what actually is the accelerant for that. The fight night is just, like I said, the cherry on top.
Yeah, no nerves apparent in the studio anyway. You've brought a custom of the team in with you. Who have you brought with you?
So we have Anthony Brennan here, who's going to be opening up the main card on the night in an MMA fight. We have Jason McCourtney here, who's one of our more advanced fighters. He's going to be peaking off our preliminary card in a K1 kickboxing match. And then we have our main event of the evening, which is Shane Dunn. So he was the main event on our last card in May as well, and he's going to be, that was a K1 kickboxing fight. This time around, Shane is bringing mixed martial arts home, so in the main event.
Wow. Anthony, what was it got you into it in the first place?
My stepfather was actually an inspiration for me doing it now. He was training in the gym a long time with all the boys. He'd know all of them. I was just lazy, to be honest, and I wanted something to do. Like, I've played soccer, I've played hurling, played Gaelic football. Never liked any of them. I'm just happy out to be doing mixed martial arts with all these boys. They're giving me the best base of myself and making me my best version. And thanks to Shane, the two Shanes there, Jay McCorney, Kieran Davern, Ronan Deegan, all them. I won't be the person I am now without it.
Yeah, you're well prepped anyway for tomorrow night as well. That's a big one. And Anthony, Jason, for yourself too, like, you know, in the kickboxing as well. How long have you been at it, and what was the original draw?
I've been training mixed martial arts now for about 3 years. I've done a small bit of boxing as a young lad, and I just love sports. I've always been very athletic down through the years. I've done a bit of everything, but mixed martial arts, combat sports is the one that really does it for me. So
looking forward to tomorrow night.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
And Shane Smith, you were saying to us that Shane Dunn is the kind of the main event tomorrow night as well. We'll bring Shane Dunn in too. Shane, this is a proper MMA fight. Like, let's not beat around the bushes here.
It's full on fight. Yeah.
So as well as the sort of physical and the strength training, like mentally, how do you prepare for an event like that?
I think mentally it's down to everyday training, like 2-3 times a day, every day. You have to try and believe in your work and trust your craft. If you're going into an exam and you don't study in college or school, you're not going to be mentally prepared, and you're probably going to think you're going to fail. Whereas the person that does study and work hard, they should probably pass the exam, no problem. Same rules apply for sports or anything in life. You just put a bit of hard work into your dedication and it should pay off.
Roughly how long are you training for tomorrow night's fight?
Well, it's a 10-week fight camp for this specific fight, but I've been training since I was 14 years of age, and I did take a 2-year break to go play soccer like other sports, like Anthony said, and I think it helped me in the long run because I found out what my life would be like without martial arts, and I didn't like it. So I came back now, and I have the hunger to stay at it and try go the whole way to the professional, to the UFC.
How did you first get into it? Like, what was it that made you say, I want to try that?
So for me, it was mainly my dad was worried for me going into secondary school that, you know, I might get picked on by bigger guys and stuff, being bullied because I was very small and skinny, and I decided to give MMA a go. And within 2 weeks, I remember there was a UFC fight on, and I watched it, and I thought to myself that I really want to do this. I want to give it a try, and I think that was the moment when I realised that I want to make a profession out of this career.
Yeah. And what was it like when you go in first? I mean, you know, like it's not a simple place to get in, or did you just run in and go, yeah, I want to be in the octagon?
Mixed emotions. My very first fight was actually in about 2 weeks. It would be last year, and it was probably a mixture of both my scariest night and the best night of my life. When I got into the cage, it was grand, but then when the other guys started walking out, I started kind of getting the thoughts of, why am I here, and I shouldn't be here and stuff like that. And then as soon as the referee says go, you know, you fight the guy, everything else is gone, there's no one in there.
The mental prep then is obviously, like, is it 50-50 physical, mental, or is it more mental or physical? How would you kind of gauge it yourself?
I do believe it's mental, definitely does play a part, but I'm a full believer in repetition of your skills and trade, of the stuff that your techniques you're learning and training. They really come, they'll start becoming familiar in the fight as you get into certain positions. You drill something 1,000 times, 100 times, whatever it is. The more times you drill something, the more times you bang out reps of a move, it's going to stick in your head. That definitely is the best factor.
How much do you know about your opponent for tomorrow night?
I don't know a whole lot. All I know is his name and his gym. That's more or less it. It's kind of like the old-fashioned days of fighting now. So it is.
Jesus, yeah, that's get to see him tomorrow night and get in as well. So the event is taking place tomorrow night in the Bridge House Hotel. There probably are tickets still available too, and I know some of the white collar boxers are raising funds for charities as well.
Yeah, so obviously with all the white collars, they all do get the opportunity to raise funds for charity if they like. If anybody would like to donate to any of the lads' GoFundMes for all the various fundraisers they're doing, that's all on our website, so it's aeragrapple.com. Tickets are still available tomorrow night, so we've got over 20 fights. There's fighters from all around the Midlands, so we've got fighters from Portlaoise, Athlone. Obviously there's two clubs of lads fighting out at Tullamore, so we've got our own club, which is Aera Grapple, and then we have lads fighting out of Underground Kickboxing Tullamore as well. So it's going to be a great day. The doors open at 1 o'clock. The first fight is at 2 o'clock, and there will be some tickets available on the door, but there still is some available online also. To avoid disappointment, we would recommend going online and buying them now on Eventbrite, because it is sure to sell out on the day.
Absolutely, it sounds fascinating. I can't say I'll be in the ring or the octagon tomorrow night or anything like that, but huge respect, to all of you for doing it, and it's nice to just shed a spotlight in the sport. It is a sport, I suppose, that has been in the news again, particularly through one individual who, would it be fair to say, was somebody who probably inspired people to get into a sport? Where do we stand on it now?
No comment.
It's a strange one, isn't it? Yeah. Lads, thanks a million. All the very best at that event tomorrow night anyway, and keep safe. Keep up what you're doing. Thanks, lads.
Thank you.
Saturday View, with thanks to Lumcloon Energy, pioneering innovation, powering progress. LumcloonEnergy.com.
Well, the full crew are in today anyway. Will Faulkner from Midlands today is with me now in studio at the minute. Will, Latin has developed in the last maybe half hour since we got the updates from the count centres.
Well, just looking at the tally so far in the Offaly constituency now, just 42 boxes open so far, and a mix of locations around the county, but it is showing, for instance, that Carol Nolan would be on course to top the poll. She's one of many independent candidates in the race, but the only outgoing TD for that constituency. Tony McCormack of Fianna Fáil so far on 15%, and again he would have hoped to be higher, but if these are West Offaly boxes, for instance, that could explain it. And Tullamore will obviously be his heartland. John Clendenin on just under 19% for Fine Gael, he'll be pleased with that. Aoife Masterson of Sinn Féin on 16, but again, have to stress, early tallies, partial tallies, until you have every box in the county open, it's very hard to be certain about these trends.
And there are Fianna Fáil tallies. Interesting, Senator Pippa Hackett, according to that tally, on is it 2.35 on that, in those boxes anyway, so interesting times. Let's say early days yet. We've no more tallies from other constituencies just yet, have we?
Well, Boxer Moran is tallying very well in Longford Westmeath, and you have to remember, each constituency, and there are 43 of them, there's a mini election in each one. And while you can talk about the national opinion polls, take Longford Westmeath, it's incredibly complex. Longford didn't have a TD between 2016 and 2020. That caused a surge for Joe Flaherty the last time around and got him across the line for Fianna Fáil. So what's happened since then? Athlone didn't have a TD, and that seems to be, based on these initial tallies, really playing for Kevin Boxer Moran. And bearing in mind there is an extra seat in the constituency this time around, it goes from a 4-seater to a 5-seater. As things stand, and again, partial tallies, but he's in a really strong position to go back to Dáil Éireann.
Absolutely, yeah. We're very, very strong showing so far. Thanks, Will. I'm going to bring
just
in...
one more, sorry, just for Laois. The big unknown heading into this was, would brand Sinn Féin or brand Brian Stanley win out? And the assumption was that Brian Stanley had an enormous personal vote and that he would be returned as an independent Republican TD, or at least be in a very strong position for that. It does appear, take Greg Cullen for instance, which is in South Laois, right on the border with Carlow Town. Maria McCormack, in the boxes open there, is topping. And so far it's a 4-horse race, but again, partial tallies, this can all change.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for that. Undoubtedly more updates coming as well throughout the morning. As I keep an eye, Midlands103.com there on our news page, there is live blogs coming from the Tree Count Centre, so anything we get, tallies, any updates will be published there straight away, and there'll be updates on the news of course throughout the day as well. I'm going to go now to Tig McNally, who's a political reporter with the Irish Examiner. Good morning, Tig.
Morning.
I suppose the exit polls last night, probably no major surprises in it, but anything popping up both locally here or nationally that has caught your attention this morning?
I think what we have to look at is Dublin Central. I think it's a fascinating little sort of contest going on there with we've got, I think, 55% of boxes tallied, and Jared Hutch is performing very, very well. He's got, according to what figures I'm looking at now, that he's about 2,500 first preference votes, and it looks like he could be in play for a fourth seat here. It's hard to see where some of his transfers might come from, but certainly he's definitely in contention. With Mary Lou McDonald leading the pack alongside Pascal Donoghue and Gary Gannon of the Stock Dems. Yeah, wow, that's an interesting one to watch too. You said the transfers will be of interest there too, and of course transfers nationally are going to be of real interest to everybody, and we're probably going to see a couple of days before we get final results. But how hard will it be, or how likely will it be able to call transfers at this point? I think it is going to be tough to kind of call, but what we're kind of seeing is that there is the sort of broad trends and things like the sort of the vote left, transfer left that we saw in 2020. The sort of idea that, if you're voting for parties like Labour, the Stock Dems, or People Before Profit, or Sinn Féin, they're all kind of transferring in those sort of circles, and that's what we're kind of seeing in boxes that are open so far. For sort of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, those parties are transferring to each other a lot more than they would have done in 2020, where maybe people are giving 1 and 2 to the Fianna Fáil candidate, and then they're giving the 3 and 4 to the Fine Gael candidate. So that's kind of the broad trends we're seeing. Just to maybe give you sort of a picture of where else we're looking at around the country. We're seeing it's looking like a very, very difficult election for the Greens. They're polling pretty badly in some parts of Dublin, where they would be really particularly strong. In places like Dublin West, which is where the bailiwick of the Green Party leader Roger Gorman, he is currently sitting around 5% of the vote. He's being badly. He's performing quite badly at the minute, so he is potentially in the run to lose this seat. As is Health Minister Stephen Donnelly out in Wicklow, who's polling 6% at first preference vote at the minute. So there's going to be some pretty significant losses, I think, of very senior people in government today, potentially, or maybe in the days ahead. But it's not looking good for those two TDs at the minute.
Of course, most of the papers leading with the fact that Sinn Féin, Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil pretty much had an equal share of the exit polls last night, and lots of people putting focus on who might help form a next government. The Social Democrats, how are they feeling this morning, do you think?
I think they're probably pretty happy. They're sort of in contention in seats that might have been expecting to be in contention in, like places like Cork South Central is doing quite well. Port Right seems to be in contention down there. In Dublin North West, which is a 3-seater, the outgoing TD Roisin Shorthall, we're seeing strong polling for her replacement in Rory Ahern, but also some strong competition from People for Profit candidate Conor Reddy, who's people are talking up here that he's in the hunt for that third seat. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are looking. It's kind of hard to tell right now. I think it'll all come down to transfers on that. But across the country, the left-wing parties are pretty happy with themselves. I would have to say. But the real story of this will be the fallout for the Greens. They're looking like they could lose a lot, maybe more than people expected.
And surely an interesting landscape too when we look at transfers and see do they go to independence too, and what might change over the next while. But exciting exciting couple of days ahead anyway, Ty. Thank you so much for that this morning, and we'll talk to you again shortly. I'm going to bring in now Dennis Naughton, of course, former independent TD for Roscommon, Galway. He served from 2016 to 2024, and having previously served from 2007 to 2016. And he, of course, was, as an independent, Minister for Communications, Climate Action and Environment from 2016 to 2018. So I suppose the question, Dennis, when we look at a new government being formed, maybe might we see an independent in a senior ministerial position again?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen. Look, I think it's early days yet. We need to see what's going to happen over the next few days. But look, it looks like that Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil are in the driving seat to form a government. I think they'll probably need two other legs to that. Whether it's going to be two smaller parties, whether it's going to be a smaller party and a group of independents, we just have to wait and see in relation to it. I think what's going to be critically important here in relation to how we see the final seats being divvied out in Laois, in Offaly, and in Longford Westmeath in particular, is going to be in terms of the transfers. The left-wing parties seem to have done well, but will they transfer to each other? Will one of those candidates have the opportunity to be in the fight for the last seats? And, you know, it seems across our own region anyway that the independents seem to have done well based on early tallies. And look, we have to take these with a health warning at the moment. But are we going to see some of the weaker independent candidates transferring to them? Are they going to fall shy of the line come the end? So I think really going to be interesting late into tonight and this time tomorrow to see how the final seats are distributed. And then I think the negotiations will start and the approaches will start in terms of forming a government.
And so it's unlikely we probably will have the lag of time from 2020, where it was nearly 5 months before a government was formed. Would you expect to see something in place quite quickly?
No, I don't think we're going to see the same type of time lag that we've seen in 2016 or in 2020. You know, I think Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil will quite quickly come to an arrangement. They will open up engagement with a number of the other groups. I do know that, you know, the Green Party has said that they'd like to talk with the Labour Party and the Social Democrats. The Labour Party has said that they would like to talk with the Green Party. And they wouldn't be alien to talking with the Social Democrats either. The question for the Social Democrats is whether they want to go into government or remain on the opposition benches. And I think a lot of the focus early next week will be on the Social Democrats, and that could decide a huge amount of the dynamic in terms of the negotiations on the formation of government.
Of course, some of the reports Ty McNally was giving us there too around looking at, you know, some seats that could be in danger, and he was even saying that some of the Green vote in parts of Dublin was down based on early tallies as well, which would be, again, comes at a health warning, but could be a bit of a warning sign for them too. So looking at who could come together, do you think the Labour Party at 5%, would they be satisfied with that from the exit poll last night?
I think the Labour Party would be happy with that, but remember we've 43 different elections here, and, you know, for the smaller parties and independents, you know, there's going to be peaks and troughs in terms of support. Like, for example, beside us here in Tipperary North, I presume that Alan Kelly will do well there, and I would expect him to do well there. So that would be a much higher percentage vote for the Labour Party there. You know, whereas it's going to be much lower maybe in Laois and Offaly. So they're only averages around the country. What we need to do is look at what's happening in the 43 constituencies. And to be quite honest with you, I know that there are comments in relation to both Stephen Donnelly and Roderick O'Gorman being in trouble, but the reality is we're only looking at a small handful of boxes being open at the moment. What we need to see is a full first preference tally. Then you'll have an idea of what the trend is. But a lot of these seats are going to be determined by the 2s, 3s, 4s and 5s that people put down on their ballot papers or didn't put down on their ballot papers. And that's going to decide where the final seats are going to go.
I was actually out at a dinner last night, and there was a lot of talk about people filling out the entire ballot sheet, you know, going from maybe 1 to 11 or 1 to 15, whatever it might be. So all could come into play as well. Dennis, undoubtedly an emotional morning for you on many counts, in particular because your brother passed away in October and he had been selected as the Fine Gael candidate.
Yes, it is. And look, it has been a very difficult campaign. I expected to be at the Count Centre in the Hyde Centre in Roscommon today. And I expected my brother would take a seat today. I think he was well poised to do that. So look, it has been a very difficult time for us as a family, and the next few weeks aren't going to be easy either. But look, there are many other families that are bearing similar crosses to the one that we're dealing with at the moment. And this has been a huge loss to the people of County Roscommon and South Roscommon in particular, because for the last 50 years they've gone to the ballot boxes, they've voted for an Octon candidate, either my late father or my late brother John or myself. So for them, it's hard as well for the public in terms of coming to terms with the changes that happened over the last few months.
Dennis, our condolences again to everybody, to the Nocton family and to you all there, and I suppose best wishes to yourself as you enter that new phase of not being a TD. But Dennis Nocton, thank you so much for that this morning.
Thank you.
So that's it. That's what we can bring you so far as well. Will Faulkner sitting opposite Will. 30 seconds if you want to come in there. Anything breaking or anything you'd like to bring our attention to?
Well, in Longford Westmeath, and only 14% of boxes tallied, it suggests that Peter Burke is on course to top the poll for Fine Gael. Again, very early days to make predictions like that. Micheál Carrigy performing well, his running mate in Longford, slightly ahead of Joe Flaherty at the moment. And in Longford, in the local elections, Fine Gael outpolled Fianna Fáil, so there could be a slight change of which government party has the most seats. And another to watch is that so far, and again very partial, Circa Clark, who had topped the poll, is on just under 10% this time, but that will change depending on where those boxes are. Another variable to watch is turnout. So I was just looking at St. Patrick's National School in Edenderry, 53% turnout. In 2011, Edenderry was very low, around 30%, and historically has been quite low on turnout. But if Edenderry and North Offaly has stepped up, well, that introduces an interesting variable when it comes to Clare Murray, when it comes to Fergus MacDonald, and, of course, Eddie Fitzpatrick, who is the fly in the Fianna Fáil ointment.
Absolutely, and it is interesting, and it's funny, with the constituency being split again, it really now gets into so interesting times ahead. Thank you so much, Will. I'll let you go. You have to deliver a news bulletin now at 11, do you? There we go. Thanks a million, Will, and thank you to everybody this morning. I say Midlands103.com. If you just click on our news page, there are live blogs there from the three constituencies, so from Laois, from Offaly and from Longford Westmeath. And as we get any news of tallies or that, and even that information and those tallies that Will has been speaking about there, they're all up there, they're published online. Stay tuned to your news as well throughout the day. We'll have all the latest on the general election 2024. Thank you all for listening, and enjoy the rest of the weekend. Enjoy all the sports activities, whatever else you might be doing. Put up that Christmas tree maybe if you haven't done so yet, and keep a close watch, because interesting 48 hours coming. Big thanks to Nelly for assistance as always on the show, and to Will and to all today's contributors. I'll talk to you all soon. Have a great weekend.
Saturday View, with thanks to Lumclune Energy, pioneering innovation, powering progress. LumcluneEnergy.com. Midlands 103.